Hello, everyone. Welcome to the It's Giving Mystical podcast. It's me, Kirsten. I hope you are doing well. I hope this first week in December is taking good care and you are taking good care. Listen, December energy, the hangman and judgment, it's not easy. And I mentioned last week, there is some connection between it and the tower energy. And I don't want people to be afraid because judgment can feel like, oh no, what's going to happen? But judgment is not just, I use the example of my mother's death last podcast. That was a judgment day for me. But I could equally tell you about 5 or 6 moments in my life that were completely quiet, that like no one knew about. I saw something in meditation or I had an experience where things shifted for me. Those were also judgment days. The birth of my children, judgment days. Like nothing was ever the same after they came. When you fall in love, that's a judgment day. Like you don't see that coming. You might hope for it and want it, but then you feel that person, feel that energy, and you fall in love. Like you can't stop that. You can't make things, you can't go back to the way you were before that happened. Those are all judgment days. So the judgment can be as beautiful as it can be challenging. The point of it is that it's something you didn't plan for, something you didn't expect that shifted things and there's like no going back. And again, that can be lovely. It's just the way that life unfolds and it's something just to be honored and recognized. Because it's coming in with hangman, it's saying that there's some way in which the like gates are getting rattled, the foundation walls are getting rattled, and you want to be aware of the fact that your your like inner structures are being tested. So you might feel yourself kind of shaken. Stories or ideas or plans or relationships that felt solid might all of a sudden feel like you can feel someone inside rattling the gates a little bit and wondering, wow, why are things shifting? You can picture like plaster falling from the ceiling. Like things are different, things are moving on their own. And so while you can't control that, you can take good care through that. And I know it's like so boring. Nobody wants to hear the word self care anymore. No one wants to hear me say, be here now. No one wants to hear me say, just focus on your breath. And that's all true. Like, that's all the challenge. The challenge is remember to be with what is now. Start with my body. Am I like literally drinking enough water? Am I moving outside? Am I getting the rest I need? Am I listening to what my precious body is calling for? Am I honoring my pain in my heart? Am I honoring my mind and the things it's worrying over? There's just like this stay right here and then go to your environment. Like, are you tending to your space? That can feel so like not a sacred thing. And it's such a powerful thing to say, I care about my body, I care about my space. I'm going to tend to it with devotion and love, knowing that the beauty, the organization, the clarity of my space has a direct impact on my nervous system. Don't underestimate the things that are in your control. So, judgment and hangman are kind of saying the world's going to shift, your perspective is going to shift. We can't control that. We can't anticipate it. We can't, like read for it or even ready for it. But we can be in a position where we feel as grounded as possible, as held as possible, as safe as possible. So I say all that because I do think that there's Mars retrograde. I know the astrologers say there's a lot of, wild astrology this month, but just there's the simple fact that judgment and the hangman speak about a pretty profound reversal in your perspective. And I just think my experience of the month so far has been like very busy, like very psychoactive. And so you want to just be kind and patient with yourself, not judge yourself or like push yourself to get someplace when you're in process. Really want you to, embrace this idea this month that everything is in a state of becoming. Some things are ripe and ready right now, some things are just new on the vine, some things are falling away. And there's a great level of respect for life and for the world when you are willing to stay with yourself and stay with other things, people, experiences, with a sense of where are they in their becoming? Like, what is alive in this moment and what is drying up and falling away? And just like honoring the truth of that. there's like a level of ease that comes when you say like it's just true that this thing is in the state of becoming that it's in, and I don't need to force it or make it be different. I'll tell you that the King of Swords energy from last week was, again, required a lot of compassion on our parts for ourselves and for other people. I hope that you were able to feel that. I hope you didn't let your brain trick you into thinking you were supposed to have it figured out when it wasn't quite ripe and ready to be figured out. That's kind of this interesting thing about the becoming, the evolving, the blossoming, the life of a thing, and then what we think it's supposed to be. And there's a conflict between those two things. The card I pulled for us this week is the Eight of Wands. This is a card that speaks to movement. It's the fastest card in the tarot. It has to do with the the basic premise, right? Is that I have this passion, this energy, this life force, this vitality, and at some point it becomes so like in me, it develops again its like own momentum, and it needs to be launched, it needs to be brought out into the world. I need to kind of test it, like see what it's actually here to do, see what it's actually here to become. It's like a baby bird, you have to kind of push it out of the nest. So you nurture this thing, you have this desire, you have this impulse, this creative idea, and you kind of put love around it and like hold it and tease it out and kind of build it up. And then at some point, it becomes so big, it needs to leave you and kind of be outside of you. The classic image is the bow, the arrow leaving the bow. So it's like you can practice and aim and check the conditions and check the wind, but when you launch it, like it goes away. It leaves you. This is the card of orgasm in the tarot. It's like the build up, the build up, the build up, and then the way that you kind of tip over the edge, and there's just there's no control. There's kind of like out of time and space. This is similar to this energy of like it's here, it's here, it's here, it's building, it's building, it's building, and then it is released. So, the Eight of Wands in its best scenario is the beauty of watching yourself birth something, right? Like watching your the actual birth would be here too, right? As a woman giving birth, like you nurture and love and care for this baby in your belly, and then one day you lose your mind and have it. Like it all just comes, it's like your body kind of topples over the edge and the baby is born. God bless that experience. And there's something about this idea of it's like it's mine to care for and germinate and gestate, and then it does topple over. It kind of has to leave me. It has to leave the nest. It has to go out and be tested in the world. And that test is so out of our hands and also so beautiful. It's so beautiful to watch something that you've tended to and cultivate kind of fly on its own, like take root on its own, move out into the world on its own, and you have no control over it. So it's like this very bittersweet energy of great pride and excitement and hopefulness, and also the utter lack of control. Like the utter lack of control. It's like literally sending my daughter off to college. It's like watching someone get on an airplane. It's like giving birth. It's like launching an arrow. It's like this, it's yours and then it's out in the world. And there's something both, again, like beautiful and also terrifying about that. I want to say that the Eight of Wands is about communication. It's about sharing something that lived in your heart, sharing something that is of your kind of deepest creation, your most, something you feel very passionate about, that you care for deeply. And so in terms of work, it's, a creative project and have like showing it to the world or putting it out in the marketplace and seeing what happens. There's an element of faith and hopefulness and the weather. Like there's a sense of I'm going to launch this arrow and I have no control over what the wind does. And so the Eight of Wands can often feel like a holding of the breath, and it's quick. So it's not like watching your child go to college. It's like literally the moment where they walk away. It's not like raising a baby. It's like birthing a baby. It's something that happens very quickly. And it's this kind of moment where you're just kind of holding your breath waiting for the thing to land. Oh, I told you guys I'm taking this class and we were writing poetry, and this woman was we were all writing from the point of view of a storm. And this woman had this beautiful line where she was talking about like all of the buildup, all of the buildup, all of the, and then she said a holding. And I could, that's like that feeling right before a storm breaks. That is also Eight of Wands. It's like you just see it building in the atmosphere, building in the atmosphere, and it's like you're just waiting for like the fall away, the launch into the air. So the Eight of Wands is beautiful energy. It is out of control energy, which some people hate and some people like. But it is this sense of trust the momentum, like trust the pullback of the bow. There's that beautiful, I think it's a Gilbrand poem where he says, life is meant to, I'm gonna like butcher it, but maybe I can find a way to like link it here. It's such a beautiful poem, and it talks about how the archer, like God is the archer, the divine is the archer, and it holds the bow, which is the mother, and then it gives birth to the arrow, but that life is meant to move forward. There's something really beautiful about that sense of watching something you have loved and nurtured come into the world, like be birthed. There's something extraordinary and miraculous about that. Very much judgment energy, but it happens very quickly. And it's a little bit of like, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, I did what I could do. I did what I came here to do. And now I'm letting life have its way with this thing that is very precious to me. So the Eight of Wands is quick movement. It's so this week ahead will feel fast. So you want to again like ground yourself, whatever you need to do. Trust what you've put into the thing. So whatever this is for you, like trust what you have, like the time and the devotion you've spent with this thing. The one thing I want to say about the Eight of Wands is because it is the card of sharing something, of something moving from internal to external, and Mars is in retrograde, it can mean that there's confusion and frustration, that things fail to launch or things fail to, land the way you want them to. It can mean that like you have the best intentions and the way you say it makes someone mad. Like there's something about it's ripe for miscommunication. It's ripe for kind of landing like with a heavy thud. And so, like, you win some, you lose some. You want to have that energy this week ahead. Like, you want to have a sense of just because I can't control what it does once I've birthed it doesn't mean the experience of caring for it and wanting it and building it up wasn't worth it, right? It's like, if we want to talk about the sex analogy, it's like if you don't have an orgasm, it's not worth it. No, like, what about all of the contact, the connection, the physicality, the good sensation? Like, we shouldn't be judging anything only by the way it turns the corner, right? There's something about what if you just needed to work on this project or work on this piece of art or have this interaction because you were building up a muscle that you needed to really complete something next time. So you want to just like give yourself a lot of grace and compassion, give the world a lot of grace and compassion. The energy of the King of Swords last week was really potent. Like, we can mean so well and we can really think that we know what's right and wrong, but context is everything. Compassion counts for so much. And there's just this sense of in the Eight of Wands, it's going to move quickly. We have no control over what it does once it's out in the world. And we're all learning. Like, we're all learning. They came up on like Instagram, this Alan Watts like saying or phrase, and he was talking about a cat and how a cat has to relax when it falls from the tree, and he was talking about how we all should relax as we kind of fall through universe, up we're pushed off the precipice. There's something here about the Eight of Wands too, like appreciate the grace with which you are moving, appreciate the quality of grace as you bring it into your life and for yourself and with other people. The Eight of Wands is just fast. Like, that's the best way to say it. It's fast, it's fiery, it's real. So the eight, because it's eight energy, it means it's something real in the world. This is not an idea or a thought. This is like a thing. This is something we can kind of all look at and acknowledge. Maybe not earth form, but something real that we can name. We can name this thing as it leaves us and comes out into time and space to have its own existence. So Eight of Wands, quick, There's always an invitation with the Eight of Wands for awe, like always an invitation with the Eight of Wands to just pause and look at the miracle of what wants to be born. Right? Rick Rubin in the Creative Act, he talks all the time about like things want to be born. And if you are the artist and you are the person paying attention, maybe you'll be lucky enough to shepherd the thing. But there's something about that thing that wants to be born anyway, that has its own impulse, its own movement. And there's an awe in that. Like there's an awe in the fact that things will find their way to the light. They will find their way to the surface. They will find their way to creation. There's something so beautiful about that. So that's also an invitation for us this week. But the Mars retrograde with this, the Mercury retrograde just kind of says to me, hopefully things will go smoothly. And if they don't, just have patience with it. Have patience with, yeah, the momentum that the thing itself wants to bring to the space. And don't discount the trips and the falls and the mistakes and the things that fall flat. Like, don't discount their power and their importance. All right, cool. Eight of Wands. You might have the best intentions. You might like really want to kind of like say the thing and just know that it might fall flat. Know there might be frustration. You might feel like, it's not what I meant to say. It's not what I meant to do. And forgive yourself for being human and imperfect and trying. We're all just trying. We're all free falling and we're all trying. So, Eight of Wands, take good care. Definitely counterbalance this by slowing down and finding those moments of awe and wonder and excitement about what might happen now that this thing has been loosed into the world. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.